What is going on, everybody? It's your boy Chris Evans here with Zero Meter Chasers, live here on this August 12th, Wednesday afternoon at 2:18 Eastern Standard Time. Wanted to fire up a live update here as we did just get a mesoscale discussion from the Storm Prediction Center concerning. Let's actually cover that before we get to radar here. Here is that new mesoscale discussion from the Storm Prediction Center saying a damaging wind threat is spreading south this afternoon and a new watch is likely. If you look on the left side here, you'll see where the max, the most probable peak intensity is, and we'll have anywhere from 65 to 80 mile per hour wind gusts anywhere in this blue circle as we get through the afternoon. We'll have a low end tornado risk as we talked about earlier today, but the tornado threat is going to be under 90 miles an hour. So if we do see a tornado warning, it will be for a quick spin up tornado as we get through the afternoon. And then we also have a very low end hail risk as well. But you'll see how this is kind of centered across the I-65 corridor here, and it kind of stops here at the Western Kentucky and Bluegrass Parkways. And this is definitely coming here from the Storm Prediction Center. And if we scroll down and kind of see what they're talking about, I don't want to get into too much meteorology here, but basically it's saying that we'll start here. Low-level convergence along the boundary is with moderately to strongly unstable air mass is expected to support further storm intensification this afternoon over portions of central and southern Indiana. Damaging winds with localized gusts up to 75 mile per hour will be the hazards or the primary hazards. Some brief tornado potential may materialize to the immediate east of the outflow boundary, where locally back surface winds may enhance low-level shear. So we have talked about that. We actually talked about that on the video today. So if you haven't watched my video, you can go back and watch my video from this morning because we did talk about that potential from the morning complex here. But again, looking at radar, you will see we have this complex of storms and this severe thunderstorm watch that is in southern Indiana here in the orange, and that is for Indianapolis, where we have a complex of storms moving in. But the real reason that this mesoscale discussion, which is this area in red right here, the reason that got posted here is for the storm development. You can see the frequent lightning that is kind of developed here near Terre Haute. And if I fast forward this, I'm going to just loop radar here for about an hour. You'll see how it's kind of on the southwestern flank here. We're getting some continued storm development. And remember, out here far eastern Kentucky, Ohio has been really worked over from storms earlier this morning. So I definitely think that the MCS is trying to get towards that Cape. Remember, we talked about how these MCS complexes try to go towards kind of the Cape gradient. And I definitely think on the southwestern flank right here near Terre Haute, this is going to try to expand a little bit on the western flank here and kind of approach the Evansville and Louisville area as we get into the mid-afternoon time frame. But again, as you see that loop, you can see the lightning here uptick. You can see how this is getting stronger. Another way we look at storms and see how storms are getting stronger is looking at the echo tops, or how high up in the atmosphere the clouds are reaching. And this storm is getting to about 40,000 knots, which is usually high enough for a severe thunderstorm. So these storms are definitely growing down here south of Terre Haute. And again, if we just put a loop on this, at least this complex, if it doesn't grow anymore, it looks like it's going to go towards the Louisville to Frankfort area here. Let me get you, I'll get a little arrow. And we will look at the HRRR here in 1 second, but I just want to show what I see on radar right now. Definitely looks like that complex is going to at least move into this area right here. Kind of along the I-64 and I-75 corridor. In this area, I already saw some significant rainfall today, especially in the Frankfort or Franklin County in central Kentucky. So we'll have to watch this complex for not only damaging winds, but also that flooding risk, as we've already had some flash flooding reports over here with widespread 2 to 5 inches of rain that's fallen. And then again, we'll have to see if this builds anymore. If you're on like this side here, you can see there's a little bit of a storm over here in Robinson, but I definitely think there is some room for this complex to grow a little bit on the western side. And we'll kind of look at that here in 1 second. But I just kind of wanted to look at radar real quick. We'll look at the latest HRRR, and I'll take you through a little bit of model data. And yeah, that's what I got for you guys. If you have any questions, please be sure to put it in the chat. What I wanted to do now was kind of look at some model data, and we'll look at some mesoscale analysis real quick, see where the environment best supports severe weather right now. And let me get to the brand new HRRR, and let me get off these warnings real quick. So if you just give me 1 second here. There we go. Okay, so here is your timestamp up here. This is 2 o'clock. The HRRR, this is the brand new HRRR, so it is initializing, or it is catching on to these thunderstorms just south of Terre Haute pretty well here. As we move through the next couple of hours, you'll see how this line is going to try to expand a little bit just to the east of Mount Vernon, Illinois. And this complex looks to track anywhere from Evansville to Louisville. Again, model data is not going to handle it perfectly, but you can see the widespread MCS complex up here, kind of heavy rain threat that's going to be moving through portions of Indiana and Ohio. And then kind of on the southwestern flank, we're going to get some renewed storm activity, I think, in the next couple of hours. And then as we get through the next couple of hours, again, this is the brand new HRRR. Let me actually go back here because I think 16Z did a better job showing probably what the evolution is going to look like. But as we get to about 6 p.m., it'll probably be a line of thunderstorms here approaching the Evansville and Louisville and Cincinnati corridor. The best of severe potential to me is probably along 65 and a little bit further west. Again, we'll look at some mesoscale analysis, and I'll show you guys why I think that right now. But again, the timing, this might be a little bit late, or so it might be an hour or two late. So really it might be 5 to 6 p.m. rather than 6 to 7. But as we, again, go through here, this will push through the I-65 corridor as we get to about 8 or 9 p.m. And that's kind of why that slight risk stops here along the Western Kentucky and Bluegrass Parkways, because when we get to 8 p.m., we're losing our daylight, right? We're losing a lot of the fuel that we'll have for these thunderstorms. So I definitely think along the Western Kentucky Parkways and just north are most at risk for this kind of damaging wind threat as we get into the afternoon. I did want to cover a flooding risk that we have overnight, but I will answer some of these questions. James says, are you chasing any today? No. So some of you guys do know this. I'm a football coach. We have football practice. I'm a high school football coach. We have high school football practice tonight at 4 o'clock. So I'm going to have practice. But when we get done with practice, I'm going to kind of look at radar, and hopefully we don't get lightninged out. If we get lightninged out, you guys might get a live stream from our football field. No, but seriously, once football practice ends, I'll kind of look at radar. And if there's anything along like the I-65 corridor, I will chase. But other than that, I kind of have some prior obligations today, so I won't be chasing much. Do I think Somerset's going to get hit bad? Again, I think because Somerset is down here in a little bit far southern Kentucky, the timing, again, it's not going to come into Somerset till about 8 or 9 p.m. So the timing favors further north, but you could still get a isolated severe storm as we get into the evening tonight. But I definitely think the higher severe risk is further to the north. Let's see here. James said, you think the storms will be stronger in southern Illinois / Indiana compared to Kentucky? So we'll kind of look at that one more time here. Again, that was kind of, I want to show the overnight threat, but I wanted to get to questions before I forgot to do that. I think this side here, and we're going to look at mesoscale analysis here in a second, but eastern Kentucky is worked over. From all that rain, the continued rain that we had through the morning hours, we'll look at satellite again here in 1 second, and the clouds are trying to lift, but we don't have much time before this complex of storms moves into eastern Kentucky. So I definitely think the better severe risk is going to be kind of along that Cape gradient, which is why those storms are trying to blow up on the southwestern flank, is because that's where the better Cape is out here, far western Kentucky. That's where we have our better fuel. You could still get an isolated severe storm out here in eastern Kentucky. And before we get done, I do want to show that SPC outlook. But I definitely think the best severe risk right now looks to be along the I-65 corridor and maybe just a little bit further west. It just depends how far west this complex kind of builds out to the west. So that's what I got there. Adair County, that is a good question. Again, Adair County's kind of it's close. Again, I think the timing favors a little bit further north up here. But even in Adair County, again, as we get to about 7 to 8 p.m., we'll have to watch radar to see how this line kind of approaches and how it is holding together as we get through the afternoon. I still don't think we have the exact. This doesn't look how it's going to look in the next couple of hours. It's still trying to get its kind of act together, I think. So we just need to kind of watch radar again. Watch this this complex near Terre Haute and see how it kind of progresses here in the next hour. But this mesoscale discussion to me tells me that this southwestern flank is definitely going to be gaining steam in the next couple of hours, and you can see that with the lightning tick. So we'll just have to see exactly how that tracks as it gets towards the I-65 corridor. So let me see here. Yeah, we're going to get to that in 1 second, James. Lisa says, what about Albany? I know Albany is far southern Kentucky. So, again, if you're in southern Kentucky, I think the better risk is further north. But we could still see an isolated severe threat, even down there near Somerset, Albany, down southeastern Kentucky. But the better severe threat, because of timing, is going to be further to the north. All right. So since I got through some questions here, what I want to do now is I'm going to go to mesoscale analysis. And this I want to warn everybody before I get to this, it can be a lot sometimes. There can just be a lot going on the website. So I don't want anybody to get confused when I change this over here to the mesoscale analysis. I will kind of walk you guys through everything here. So here is that mesoscale analysis. And if you see where my cursor is right here, I'm actually going to go here and make sure that this is sharing correctly. Yeah, I know it's hard to see everything on the screen. I can't zoom in anymore. I wish that I could. But where my cursor is right here is where Louisville is. So that's kind of the I-65 corridor right here. And you can see where these lines get really tight right here is that Cape gradient that I was talking about. So over here, we have 5,000 Cape or instability being built into Western Kentucky, which is extreme instability. But as we get to over here in Eastern Kentucky along the I-75 corridor, we have this blue shading, which is a SIN, and we have no instability. Basically, the atmosphere is worked over from the previous storms this morning. Basically, what I was just telling you guys earlier. Mesoscale analysis is showing that. And again, you can't see it clearly, but these are these storms near Terre Haute that are just now starting to form. And you can see how they're riding along that gradient. So these storms, it is interesting to me to see how far west these build, to see like if Evansville will get in on the action. But I definitely think that they'll at least track towards the I-65 corridor because of how tight. You can just see how tight these lines are. So we're going from a lot of Cape out here in Western Kentucky to no Cape out here in Eastern Kentucky. These MCS complexes love to ride on that gradient. So as we get through the next couple of hours, I definitely think this complex of storms near Terre Haute is going to get a little bit more, a little stronger, and will track towards the I-65 corridor as we get to about 5 or 6 p.m. I did want to show one more thing here, which is the helicity values. One interesting thing to note, the helicity values is just the ability for storms to rotate as we get into the afternoon. Again, here is Louisville on my cursor right here. And you can see with this complex, we have 200 helicity, which is an elevated amount of helicity, and especially where we had that outflow boundary, which is right along the I-65 corridor. As this complex kind of approaches, I do think we could have a quick spin up tornado. So it would not surprise me to see a tornado warning or two as we get into the afternoon. But if we do get a tornado warning, I just want to reiterate that it would be a quick spin up tornado, and we're not worried about any long track or violent tornadoes today. It would be more of a quick spin up type tornado rather than anything else. One last thing that I wanted to show here was the precipitable water. And if you can give me 1 second here, these are our PWatt values, or the amount of moisture that the atmosphere can hold in the atmosphere. And as we look anywhere, when you get to your PWAT values, this amount of rain that can fall in an hour, basically, and we have about 2 inches with these storms right now. So if these storms were to train over your area in 1 hour, you would get 2 inches. And we know out here in far eastern Kentucky, they can't handle that amount of rainfall because we already have those flash flood warnings and flood advisories that are ongoing. So I am worried about the flash flooding risk, especially where we have already seen some of those repeated rounds of showers and storms over the last over the last basically 6 to 12 hours. So I'm a little bit concerned about the flash flooding risk as this moves in, because if you look over here in Illinois, we might have a third complex that could move through overnight. And some of the model data has been hinting at an overnight training of thunderstorms near Louisville. So we will have to watch that for a flash flooding threat as we get through the overnight hours. So definitely a lot going on right now. Again, I'm going to share radar, get back to any questions. And you can see how we were just looking at that little thunderstorm, and now there's some lightning. So you can see how this is continuing to build here on the southwestern flank. So I definitely think the I-65 corridor is going to get into some action here. And again, I wanted to show before I got to any questions, this was the mesoscale discussion just about 20 minutes ago from the Storm Prediction Center. And a new severe thunderstorm watch is going to come basically along the western Kentucky parkways and north, highlighting the I-65 corridor for a damaging wind threat as we get through the afternoon and evening. So I know, guys, there's a lot going on. I feel like it's information overload, but that's what I got for you guys today. Again, I'm going to try to get through some questions here, and we will get going. Fisher says, these are going in a southeastern motion. Hold on, let me get that popped up here. These are going in a southeastern motion. Yes. So everything basically, I can put it in motion here for the past hour. You'll see how everything's basically moving off to the south and the east. But again, you'll see how this flank right here, the southeastern flank, is trying to build a little bit here on this side of the southwestern flank. So especially here along the I-65 corridor, let me zoom out a little bit. There we go. Pause it. Especially here along the I-65 corridor. I know I had some questions about Greene County. We just have to see how much building happens here on the southwestern flank of this. It's continuing to build. The cloud tops are getting stronger. So I do think it's going to continue to get stronger, but just how strong and how far, as we just got a severe thunderstorm warning for that storm. But how strong and how far west does this complex build is going to determine the overall severe threat here in central Kentucky, especially along I-65. But you guys can see that severe thunderstorm warning was just issued up here. We'll see what the threats are. It's not hail, just 60-mile-an-hour winds with it. So it's just now getting its act together. So again, we'll have to I think radar is going to look a lot different in an hour than it looks right now, because everything is kind of getting its act together right now. Lynette says, I am in northern Greene County. I have storm anxiety. Are we getting strong winds? Again, even in Greene County, this mesoscale discussion doesn't even reach Greene County yet. So I definitely think the greater risk is north of the western Kentucky bluegrass parkways as we get through the evening. But I cannot rule out a severe thunderstorm warning. But this doesn't look like an overly concerning setup. I would say this looks like a setup that maybe 60 to 70 mile per hour winds with maybe an isolated tornado, but not our biggest severe risk that we've ever had. So I don't want anybody to be scared. Just be prepared as we get through the afternoon and evening, and make sure you have a way to receive those warnings in case you do get under a warning. Let's see here. James says, do I think any storms could get up to the 70 mile per hour? I know they have the SIG one near Indianapolis. I think it's possible, but they had the better jet streak up there into Indianapolis. So I definitely think I think 60-mile-an-hour winds will be a little bit more common here. But we could get a 70-mile-an-hour wind again. We got to watch that complex. This complex just south of Terre Haute that looks to track in between Louisville and Lexington. which again, I know we use StormNet almost every time that I come in here. I don't know if you guys seen my tweet, but StormNet was highlighting in between Louisville and Lexington from 5 to 6 p.m. for a pretty elevated damaging wind threat. So I think StormNet killed it again today when it did its update in the morning. And we'll just kind of have to watch and see. I definitely think that I-64 corridor with kind of the storm motion, it definitely looks the most at risk right now for severe storms. And again, we'll just have to see how storms kind of build on the southwestern flank for central Kentucky. But I definitely think this severe thunderstorm watch is going to be issued here. Would not be surprised if they did it as soon as I end this video, because that's usually how this works. But do not be surprised to see that severe thunderstorm watch. Again, 60-mile-an-hour winds are the main threat. The secondary threats are flash flooding. That's actually, I would say that's probably our main risk. It's probably 1A and 1B. And then our secondary risk really is a very low-end brief tornado risk as we get through the evening. So you guys do me this favor, give me a thumbs up in this video if that all made sense. Again, I'm going to give you guys a couple seconds to put any more questions that you have in the video. And then I'm going to get out of here for the day. I won't have any more. Again, I have high school practice here in a little bit, so I won't have very many updates for the next couple of hours, but it is possible once these storms reach the I-65 corridor around 6 o'clock that I could fire up a live stream to kind of storm chase these storms a little bit. So we're just going to have to kind of watch that. And again, watch how far on the southwestern flank this kind of goes. And you can see how this is already starting to build southwest of Robinson. So we'll have to watch it. Okay, so I don't think we have any more questions in the chat right now. I'm going to give you guys, again, another about 30 seconds to a minute. This looks to approach the I-65 corridor around 5 to 6. And then I would say if you're along the western Kentucky Bluegrass Parkways, it'll probably be around 6 to 7. And then if you're south of that, it'll probably be about 8 to 10. So that's what it's looking like for timing right now. I think I've covered that in the video, and we haven't had very many questions on timing. So I think we are good. We've covered all the risks. I hope everybody stays weather aware. Again, this doesn't look like a major risk, but I do think we'll have some severe thunderstorm warnings as we get through the afternoon and the evening tonight. And then we have to be worried about that overnight flooding risk as we get through your overnight on Wednesday and early morning on your Thursday. And you can see we just got a severe thunderstorm warning. And this is very surprising because that looks a little cellular just south of Robinson here. I wanted to kind of look at velocities real quick. They quickly issued that severe thunderstorm warning and asked for hail up to 1.25 inches in 60-mile-an-hour winds. But you can see how, again, this complex is strengthening, and this hasn't even came together yet. That's kind of one cell. So we'll just have to see how, again, I keep saying it, but we'll just have to watch radar in the next hour or two to see how this approaches Louisville and then eventually how it will approach the central Kentucky corridor. So that is all I got for you guys today. Make sure you guys have a way to receive warnings. Flash flooding is one of the deadliest severe weathers that we have in Kentucky. We've had a lot of fatalities, too many fatalities due to flash flooding in Kentucky. So make sure if you see a flooded roadway, remember to turn around and do not drown this afternoon and evening. And I hope everybody has a safe and blessed Wednesday. And I might have another stream for you guys this evening. We will see. So thank you guys and have a great day.